Right, I've mentioned before that I was being migrated from working tax credits onto universal credit. And because I have been migrated as part of that last wave of people who didn't want to go, we have something called a protected, I can't remember what it's called, protected transition or transitional protection or something, which suggests that for up to a year or for 12 months, your income that was working tax credits is protected under working universal credit until you've got yourself sorted. I'm not entirely sure what that means. I don't know if it means my payments will stay the same or if it means I get less under the universal credit system depending on what I'm earning and it's like the same process, or if it means potentially I get nothing at all. It says that they don't take savings into account or the over 16,000 in savings into account for that year, and that's what the transitional protection is supposed to be about. But I don't know if that's actually true. So I put in my application and they set you up with an online account and you have to fill out a journal, like a work journal and all this sort of thing. And so I've been through the basic process, the things they've asked me for, which isn't very much. They ask what your rent is, they want to know what your work status is, and that's pretty much it. They don't ask what your like proof of address, like your council tax bill, that sort of thing. They're not interested in how much you earn. They're not interested in how much your life costs. So I don't know how they decide what you get. It may be that this is just a ridiculously long process. They said that the process will take up to the end of September, and I'm now recording this first bit towards I'm in the last week of August, because I've decided that I'm going to document some of this because I've never done this before. This is all new to me, and for someone like me who is reasonably tech savvy, who has been running a business for 11 years, who has a background in admin as a PA and things like that, dealing with admin and paperwork and fussing around with authority and bureaucracy isn't that daunting. But if I was someone who didn't understand those things or found it difficult to cope, this is quite a terrifying process. Now, I think that mine is probably more complicated because I am self-employed and my self-employment income comes from multiple sources. So when they've made me 2 appointments, and they make the appointments and they don't ask you when you want the appointment, but through the journal you can change things. So I had one appointment I couldn't do, and I asked them to change it, and they've given me a new date which I can do. So I have 2 appointments. I have one appointment which I have to show proof of all my savings accounts. Now, I have quite a lot of savings accounts at the moment. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That includes several that are savings accounts that are like fixed locked accounts, because I try to maximise my interest earnings because it goes towards my income. That's my passive income. I have several current accounts and some like easy access savings. So I think I've got 2 easy access savings, and most of my banks are digital now. I think I only have 3 banks, which are proper banks, and I do everything online. So I do everything where possible through mobile apps. Everything's digital. Some of my banks are just digital banks like Atom and Tandem, for instance. So I've got to go along with proof of all my accounts. So I've had to ask them what I can bring, because they want 3 months of statements from all my accounts. Some of them I can't because they're new accounts. Some of them I'll be able to download, I think, PDF statements and print those. But there are some where they're digital banks, they're neobanks, so I don't think I can even get the statement. So it may be a case if I go with my phone and show them as proof. I don't know. The other appointment I have is evidence of self-employment. They didn't ask for the details initially when I applied. So I have to bring all sorts of different things. So although I think of myself self-employed as a small business, a lot of my income comes from side hustles, and because I'm self-employed, everything goes into the self-employed pot. I don't have any PAYE, so even though I run a business under my name, literally everything I earn from other things, such as taking surveys and market research, things like that, that all counts in the self-employment pot. So they've asked me for proof of my business. They want my business name, the address, the date I started doing business, my unique taxpayer reference, which is fine. They also need evidence of invoices, receipts, bank statements, tax returns, records of customers, suppliers or contracts. Well, I only sell online. I sell e-commerce. I sell through Etsy, and I have a Shopify store, although Shopify hasn't made me any money yet. So, don't know what they want from that. I'm just going to take all my receipts folders from this year. They don't want to go back to the beginning of my business. I'm just going to take everything from this tax year, I think, because it's not relevant earlier than, I guess, when I made this application. They also need evidence of business activities. So my website, social media accounts, marketing activities or materials, and a business plan or portfolio. I've never had a proper business plan. I don't think of myself as being a big enough business to worry about that. I did kind of make a business plan during COVID in 2020 when I got a mentor through Enterprising You, which was a business startup scheme, and they had a real push to help businesses navigate the pandemic. So I have something that looks a bit like a business plan, although I've never updated it since then. I can also bring other evidence, like from HMRC, things like that. And I've asked them, I said, look, a lot of what I do is online because, you know, I make money from my banking interest. I make money from taking surveys. Some of my income is also passively from cashback apps. Just all sorts of different things that I do. And I can't even remember off the top of my head all the things that I actually do. So I'm just having a look at my laptop. That's why I'm looking away. I've got my laptop here because, and I said, look, I'm just going to have to bring my laptop and my phone because there's just so much, you know, personal sales, and of course I've got the new cleaning job I'm doing, which also goes through self-employment. My business has pretty much stopped making any money since August. It's been very patchy this year. This year's been dreadful for being a small business. So I'm just going to take everything I've got and see what happens. And it, you know, if there's stuff missing, then there's stuff missing. But I'll just take everything I've got. At least, you know, I'm showing willing. It's just incredibly complicated. There's just so much stuff. And it's just like all spreadsheets. This is why I have all these spreadsheets and so many spreadsheets, because keeping track of everything becomes routine. But when you've suddenly got to present it to somebody else who knows nothing about what you do, it's suddenly incredibly complicated. So having probably, I think, 4 or 5 income streams, and they're all small amounts, and they go into the pot. So my current prediction for income based on today is just short of £8,000 a year. If all the work that I'm doing comes to fruition, I will be closer to breaking even. I don't think I am going to actually break even, but I am used to having to top up shortfalls with savings, which is what I've always done. So those are two meetings that I have coming up in the next few weeks, and I'm just going to add information about that. The interviews are at a Job Centre Plus in the next town. I'm going to walk there because parking in towns is just a joke. It's expensive. It will be like a 10-minute drive, but it's a 40-minute walk each way. I need the exercise. I'm just going to walk it. I pretty much know where it is, and I've looked it up on the map. It's not a difficult walk, and at least it'll fill a day. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take my laptop and my phone with all my banking stuff on it, take any hard copy paperwork I can get my hands on, and just see what happens. I mean, that's like two separate meetings in 1 week. And it's like, really? It's like separate people with the same account a week after each other. Why can't just one person do the whole lot and we'll do it all in one go? I don't know. I mean, I hear so many bad things about the way universal credit works and how, I don't know, it just sounds awful. And I haven't had to deal with a job centre in donkey's years. I think I was about 18, so it's been about 30 years since I've had to deal with a job centre in any way, shape or form, thank God. So I'm going to do a little thing on this from my point of view, from being self-employed. I mean, if I don't get, I'm not banking on getting this. I am not expecting to get anything from this. I have already factored out any potential income that I may get from universal credit. I wasn't factoring in working tax credits up until when they ended last week, and I'm not expecting to get anything from this. So already I know what my worst case scenario is financially for this year. So if I don't get it, I don't get it. You know, it's just one of those things. And universal credit's weird because you have to keep regularly updating, whereas working tax credits was you did your claim once a year based on your previous tax assessment, and they'd adjust it based on what you had made, and then the next year they'd readjust it based on the previous year, so that it all just kind of worked itself out. I think that these just keep updating. I think you have to like update like every week. What your income was, what your hours were, and of course mine changes daily. I have no idea what I'm going to get on a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis, so that'll be interesting. And if anything else, this is going to be a learning curve. It's going to be hilarious, possibly full of frustration, possibly not. I hear people that get really upset about the way the system works. People who are much more dependent on it than me. I'm not really dependent on it at all. In fact, I'm just doing this because they told me to, and they said, I would have transitional protection, and if I can make a few extra quid out of it, then I will. If they think that I'm entitled to that, because every little helps, and I'd like to break even this year. But I don't even know what the income floor is for universal credit. I don't know what they regard as a living amount of income. Anyway, so that's where I am on that. I think I'm going to do the universal credit entries as a separate thing, and just do updates as and when they happen. Some of them will probably be quite short, like if I'm just updating because I've had a meeting and nothing much really happened and it wasn't that exciting. And I'm presuming that, you know, within a month this process will be over and I've either got it or I won't. So anyway, that's my update for this. I don't know if anyone's going to find this useful. And I probably should Google, actually. I think I'm going to do a search on YouTube and look for other people already doing vlogs about claiming universal credit, because it sounds like a horrific system. Everything I've seen, heard, read about it says that the system doesn't work and it doesn't help people. So I'm interested to see what my situation is going to be like. I have to keep a work journal, so every time I go for work, I have to prove I'm looking for work. And you have a journal online, which is almost like a diary, and you can fill it in. And staff at the Universal Credit will also add their entries where they've asked you to do something, or they've made an appointment for you, or they need more information. And you can respond directly to that request if there's something else you need to know. And they're pretty quick to get back. Blimey, I've posted up several questions today on my first entry, and they come back like in 20 minutes or something. So, you know, maybe them being all online does actually work. The response times is actually really good. Really impressed with that. So that's one good thing. The online system, if you're tech savvy enough to be able to manage to navigate the internet, and I know lots of people can't or don't have the access, and it must be a nightmare if you can't, But from doing this online through the gov.uk website, this seems to be a very efficient system, particularly for asking questions, sending over information, sending over proof of documents, things like that. It does seem to really work. So they've got one plus point there. So my next update will be not for a while, actually, probably not for a couple of weeks, because that's when my first meeting will be. I don't think anything else will come through before then, unless there's something that happens magically. So yeah, that's my update on my first forays into universal credit. Let's see what happens.